I'm making another album, and today I noticed something which I knew already, but which has been confirmed beyond all reasonable doubt, certainly for me anyway, in my music making, but I think it probably will extend to almost anyone else's. And what I noticed was, because I'm cycling through the 10 tracks on this album, doing sessions. I mean, I've been tracking how long, today I've been tracking how long I've been spending on each session. And I actually even I started like literally tracking it into a coda doc. So let me just have a look today, because I wanted to speed up my sessions. So one surefire way of doing that kind of thing is to start tracking it, because then it starts to feel a bit like a game. Where is it? Here. So yeah, the average length of my session today was 32 minutes. Anything from 10 minutes to my longest one today was 50 minutes, which was a mix that I had to do. And it was a bit of gain staging and faffing around like that. So it took a bit longer. But anyway, so I've been cycling through these 10 tracks, and what hit me like a ton of bricks on my head was, hang on a minute, all of the tracks that I'm struggling with weren't made using your unique instrument process, exercise, way of starting things. And so all of the ones I'm struggling with weren't started with your unique instrument, and all of the ones which are very simple, I mean, I'm still encountering problems and what have you, but which are very simple and they are what they are, were made with some version of your unique instrument. So what your unique instrument is it's essentially it's a little, think of it as a template. If you're in a DAW, it would be like a starting template. But if you're not in a DAW, it's essentially thinking of your studio as an instrument rather than a bunch of stuff, right? And you use the same, you kind of define over time what instruments within your instrument you're going to use, and you just use those again and again and again. And so my version of this, and it's called the UE, so I'll call it the UE, your unique instrument, right? So my UE, one of them is a flashback delay piano, so a piano through a flashback delay, so you've got this kind of looping thing, and then some kind of a keyboard, so at the moment it's like a felt piano for the chords, and my voice. It's very, very simple, and there's quite a few pieces that are like that. But another version of your unique instrument is DFAM and voice. Again, very simple with delay stuff. And all of the tracks which are in that area have been relatively easy to complete, and are actually, I think, much more successful. They kind of have a thing. They're simple, but they rely on like a strong idea more than anything else. But what happened, and if you've been with me all the way through the album, you may remember this. But what happened about halfway through my 100 splurge challenge when I was starting this, I wanted to really focus on the voice, the singing, and I had all of these old splurges from years, from 2018 through to, since 2018, thousands of splurges which I hadn't used. So I decided just to start randomly selecting those and import the MP3 into the DAW, and then sing over the top of that, just to start just to be able to focus on a song. And funnily enough, and unsurprisingly really when I think about it, the pieces that were started like that are all taking, 5 times longer, some even longer. And I don't think this is any accident at all, because essentially what you're doing when you're starting each tune as if it's like reinventing the wheel, is you're creating endless amounts of complexity. Whereas when you're using the same thing in different ways, the same things, the same instrument, if you like, which is a conglomeration of other instruments, your studio, and a minimum amount to do something, you can really focus on the music. And I mean, there is one thing, I think, for the next album, this is one of the reasons I want to move straight on to doing another album. For the next album, I'm going to do more with the DFAM, and I'll probably also bring the subharmonicon in, and I'm going to leave all of the Dory stuff alone, apart from the piano and the synth, the kind of live playing that I do, because I don't have an actual piano. I use a plugin called Pianotech 8, and also I'll probably keep my Diva plugin for kind of playing as well. So, but aside from that, all of the other stuff, all of the kind of Dory program stuff, I'm going to leave out. There's nothing wrong with Dory program stuff. It's just, it's not part of my UI and has made everything way more difficult. I mean, one of the things that I am sure isn't just a correlation, it's actually a causation, is if you want to save money because you spend a lot on gear and software, if you want to save money, there is one way I know of stopping yourself from buying gear. That's making a lot of music. Right. And there are two ways I know of making a lot of music, actually finishing it. Yeah. There are two ways I know of making a lot of music. One is the Music Machine, and the other is making an album. That's another reason why I want to go straight on to make another album, because with this combination of the UI, your unique instrument thing, and which I've got a lot more information about, which I've got a lot more ideas about now that I'm finishing, it means that with a very small amount of stuff, I've now got evidence of what these pieces can end up sounding like. I mean, some of them are really, really, really simple, like literally just, I mean, the last track is just a piano and a voice. But aside from that, the Moogie ones are super cool. And well, in fact, there's only, I think is it one? Yeah, there's one Moogie one. But that's super cool. And I actually started at the end of my 100 Spurs challenge. I started doing a lot more of them. So I've got some ideas in the bank for the next one. And I know I can really develop this into a thing, because the Moogie one, it's called Forgotten, and it's just got a real thing about it. And it's literally, what is it? It's just a DFAM recorded three different parts. So it's like I did the initial part, and then I recorded another one over the top for the hat, and then something else. And aside from that, it's got just one hat that comes in going, right? It's like a closed hat, and then my voice, and the whole thing. That's all it is, and the whole thing. It's like I mean, I don't want to say it's like unbelievably amazing, or it's not, but it's big. Right, it's got, and it does something, and it's really full. If anything, I'm thinking about how can I strip it back a bit, just with one DFAM and my voice. It's absurd. One of the mistakes that I think we all make, including me, at the start of the process, is that we're judging what this idea is compared to finished things. Compared to stuff that's been through the whole process, been through discover, draft, and done, and and the mixing, all the stuff that you do. So you're kind of in your mind comparing it to a finished track, forgetting or not realizing, and if you haven't done much stuff at the end, if you haven't released much stuff, you won't have evidence of this. But forgetting that so much, it will sound so different, and you'll solve the problems, and you'll make something that's much, much fuller and make sense, because you'll be solving problems all the way. And you can just have very, very simple ideas that are strong, it's just that. And when you understand that, not only do you save an enormous amount of money, not only do you also make better music. Your music ends up sounding like your music. I mean, this is one of the other things which is a problem with me having brought in these splurges from the past, is that it is, one of my goals with this album was to really define a sound. And I think I've done it more than any other album I've made before. But to be honest with you, that's not saying very much. Like my other 5 albums are all over the place. I mean, just all over the place. Whereas this one is more sort of its own thing, but still a little bit all over the place. So I'm so excited now to finish this one so I can get on to the next and really start to hone in and define my sound without spending any money on gear or software, which is super exciting. And, if I was to, so I know what would happen. If I was to sort of stop and not make the next album, what I'd probably end up doing is going, it's like the pace and the amount of music that I would be making would slow down. And then I'd start thinking about, maybe I can improve this part of the setup by buying one of those, or maybe I can invest in one of these, and I wonder what that does. And whereas if I'm like, I've got to finish an album. I've got to finish this 100 Splurge challenge in the next 2 weeks. Oh, now I've got to get all my drafts done. Now I've got to get things done. You don't have time to buy anything else, and you've got to work with what you've got. And it is absolutely incredible. But with what all of us have, even just in a door, if you've just got one door and that's all you've got, we have more music production, music composition power than any other generation in history. So, yeah, I mean, finishing these, the other thing is by doing that, not only does the music going to be better, not only does it sound more like something, it'll also be even quicker than this one, because while I am struggling with a few of the pieces on this album, the ones that came from Dory stuff, from a different place, this has gone incredibly quickly and it's been incredibly smooth compared to any of my other albums. But just imagine what will be happening when I really do have all of the tracks on the album being made from my Yui, from your unique instrument. And this is one of the things about finishing a project. I was listening to Huberman, Andrew Huberman, interviewing Rick Rubin, and was it? I can't remember. Maybe it was Rick Rubin's book, but he said one of the things that you'll find musicians and artists doing is that they use the motivation to move on to the next piece to finish this one. And that's definitely what I'm finding right now. I can't wait to use what I've learned from this album to make the next one.